Hello, hello. Edson Oliveira here. This is the April edition of TADUG, the Toronto Area DNN User Group, which right now, good that it's going way beyond and above Toronto. So actually, the only one that we have from Toronto at this point, let me see here. It's myself. Well, and I'm not even in Toronto. So again, let's keep just TADUG. Hey,
don't.
Yeah, you're not in Toronto, you know, you're in Guelph. Anyway, Jason.
Yeah, I guess I'm too far.
Anyway, so again, this is the April edition. Today is April 3rd, and it's 6:30 in the afternoon Eastern time. So, what do we have here? We have a presentation to go through. So, let's see here. We have our agenda, some acknowledgements as the usual, nothing too different here. A few announcements, some news, a little bit of group time, and the main presentation, which is the reason why you are all here. You can do all that just with the theme, and the presenter is already waiting for us to give the green light. Then we have our meeting wrap up, so I hope that you enjoy the meeting, you enjoy the main presentation. But before that, let's go through here. So we have Andrew on the line as well. So DNN for Less, I just want to acknowledge DNN for Less, Easy DNN Solutions, and Andrew Hoffling from Hoffling Software. Now he is, coming every single episode, every single meetup. So it's good to have you here, Andrew. So again, just want to acknowledge our sponsors, the people that have helped us to put things together in the beginning and still help to carry things over. Okay, great. So let me see if I can get it. Okay, so hot out of the press, hot. And I'm gonna bring that to, sorry for looking around like that, it's just that I have monitor here, monitor there, everywhere. So we have just 4 hours ago, this is hot off the press, not the DNN press, but off the press. And we have the release of DNN 931, which in fact is the first official release of the 9.3 family, because 9.30 has been, in a way, if we scroll down, has been skipped. So don't get confused, as I was confused the other day. The other day I was scrolling down and I saw DNN 9.3 here, and I said, where is the release? And I couldn't see it. So again, DNN 9.30 has been, in a way, skipped, and we only have release candidates there. But we do have the official 9.3.1 release, which was released just 4 hours ago. So again, it is still steaming. The list of changes can be seen here. Our own Mike Smeltzer, he has contributed that. See, we have our friend here. Woohoo! Good. So we can, Mike, do you want to mention anything about this release? I mean, anything comes to mind?
Yeah, I actually didn't contribute to 931. That's just a carryover from 930. But
you don't say that. You contributed.
I know.
Take credit.
No, it's there's a lot of good changes in there. A lot of I think there's actually more. Don't quote me on this. I'm pretty sure I saw this though, but there's more changes to the admin experience, the persona bar, than the actual core platform. So that shows a good trend there of the community starting to take charge and improving that experience. I know there's everything from accessibility improvements to features that used to be visible, then didn't make it in 9.0 into the persona bar that have now started to surface, and bug fixes and the likes behind the scenes. So there's a lot of changes there, and I think it's a pretty solid release. Considering we haven't had one for a little while now.
Awesome. So again, very recent news. I was just getting ready for the meetup, and I said, hey, let me have a look how they are doing with their releases, and it was done. So again, I would assume that at this point it's a very stable release, but hey, maybe you hold for 1 or 2 weeks before you do your live upgrades, just in case. Anyway, that's one. So that was the release. Yes, out today. Let's see. Let's go through a few news points here. Let me see if I can get my screen showing what I needed to show. Okay, so I do have, yeah, okay, so as usual, if you want to get to know what's going on in the space, you have the monthly DNN Digest put together by Clint Patterson. This is the blog post. The link will be added to the show notes. So that's the digest for March. It's usually out at the beginning of the month, so there is a new one already coming up in the next few days. But this is the March edition, and in this edition, he, again, amongst other things, he is talking about a few new sites around the DNN ecosystem going on right now. One is being built right now, which is called DNN Softwareorg. DNN Softwareorg is supposed to be the community-driven version of the DNNsoftware.com. So it's supposed to be very community focused on the core DNN, and as in a way as we have with WordPress, WordPress.com, WordPress.org, we have DNNsoftware.com, and under construction we have DNNsoftware.org. If you want to contribute, if you want to put, a few hours of your time there as well, you can click on I want to help, and I'm sure that the team will find something for you to contribute as well. So again, DNNsoftware.org, that's the community-driven websites. Just to decouple it a little bit more from the commercial DNNsoftware.com. Okay, that's one. And the other one that I saw, new sites again in the ecosystem, it's a site called DNNDocs.com. So now we have a home for the documentation of DNN. So it's an initiative being headed by Kelly Ford, and I think that at some point Kelly will be joining us as well, maybe to talk about this, maybe to talk about something else. But again, in a future meetup, Kelly might be joining us as well. But this is a site that you should be able to find documentation about how to work with DNN as an admin, as an editor, how to create themes for DNN, how to create extensions for DNN. Again, it should be a one-stop shop for all documentation aspects of DNN, from a developer to a designer to administrator. This is supposed to be the one single resource. And again, you can see a lot of contributors here. And if I'm not mistaken, ta-da, we are also here. There's a little link here for our TADUG meetup. So great, thank you for that, team. Awesome. So again, if I don't know, to be honest, I don't know at this stage which point is this site on. I don't know if it's fully released, if it's going to be released, if it's released, and then again, as time goes by, more and more documentation will be added. I'm not sure, but I'll
the docs are in preview right now.
What is that?
The docs are in preview. They got a little preview note underneath the docs there, and the title, the top left. It's pretty good right now. I would say it's probably got 70 to 90% of the stuff from the DNN software website, and I'm just pulling that number out of thin air from when I've used it here and there. Yeah. But I have noticed there are some things missing, but the docs team is doing a great job at adding them in.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Andrew. Awesome. Okay, so that's about it. Now, just keep going here, a little bit of more news. I'm just going to reinforce the fact that in 2 months, so June 6th to 9th, we're going to have DNN Connect in Switzerland, in Champéry. It's my French mouth here, trying to work things out. So yeah, so just wanted to mention, I saw a few nice pictures in Facebook the other day from the team visiting the place in person there. So they were, I guess that's looking around to see if everything was okay there. So they were having a good time. So again, in 2 months, the next DNN Connect in Switzerland. Awesome, awesome. And now let me see here what we have. So this is about news, I think. I don't know if anyone wants to bring anything else to our attention, but again, if you want to get more up-to-date news, oh, actually, I missed a little something here. Of course, our DNN monthly chat, we just did that a few days ago, just about 4 days ago. So again, another way, another place that you can get your DNN related news. So I'm not going to cover everything that is there, but just mention a few highlights. And the link as well will be added to the video post. Okay, so carrying on here with our agenda before we get to our main presentation, just want to highlight the new members. So if we go and look at our meetup page, we have 4 new members, including our presenter as well. So I'm going to start with the last one there. We have Francisco, let me see, Francisco Perez Andre from Spain, Madrid. So great to have you here, Francisco. You're part of our Facebook user group as well, very active member. We also have Shashi Rao from Sunnyvale, California. Welcome, Shashi. We also have Stephen Wise. He's from the region. He's from Thornhill, Ontario. Actually, I have had the opportunity to talk to Stephen the other day. Welcome, Stephen. I don't think that you are around. Yeah, you are not, but yeah, welcome to the group here. And of course, we have our presenter, Leewise. I'm going to talk more about Leewise in a second. Now, just going around here on our online group, we have a few, known figures, no faces, but let me go top to bottom here. Aaron Lopez. Aaron, are you the Aaron from British Columbia? Is that right?
Yeah, that's me.
Aaron, good to have you here. Finally you came to one of our meetups, I was waiting for you.
It's my first one. I'm excited.
Welcome. Aaron, do you want to briefly, talk about what you do with DNN?
I'm mostly a skinner. So I work, on just a lot of front end. I use Too Sexy Content a lot. I use Easy DNN themes a lot. So that's what I do.
What's your site again? I love your site.
Mine is it's wolfxmachina.com, and that's my company for building DNN themes and stuff.
And I hope that you're gonna drill Mr. Wise here.
Oh yes. No, I'm just kidding.
Skinner.
That's right. Well, that's why I'm showing up for this one. I was waiting for one I would understand.
Good one. I'm gonna try to bring more of the kinds that you understand.
Sounds good.
Okay, I'm coughing. I'm coughing a lot, so I'm not dying, just coughing. So carrying on here, Andrew Hoffling. Again, Andrew, thank you for being here. Good to have you around. Thank you for your help and assistance.
No problem.
Mr. Nagy, Jason Nagy.
Hi-ho, how are you?
Very good, very good. How are you, Mr. Nagy? Mr. Nagy is for those that don't know, my partner in crime, in business. So good to have you here, Jason.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Mr. Wise, Lee, I'm not gonna talk to you right now. Hold your horses there. I'm gonna talk to you in a second. Mr. Smeltzer, how are you? Mike? Awesome. Good to have you here. And Steve Karpik. How are you, Steve?
Good. I'm doing great. I'm all excited about 9.3.1. That will be as soon as this finishes, I'm gonna have a look at it.
Awesome. Good to have you always around, Steve. I mean, good to see your consistency there. Okay. Good. Okay. So, Mike, well, I'll be monitoring this chat, in a little bit. But Mike, if you want to have a second set of eyes there, I would appreciate that. Okay. Okay. So, let's see if I can find myself. Okay, new members. We have spoken about the new members, the existing members, and let's go to let's have me stopping my spiel here. Nobody is here to listen to me. We have, as the main presenter, we have Leewise presenting on you can do all that just with the theme. Let me do a quick recap of what this is about. So, according to him, you've learned how to develop a design into a theme for DNN, but can't be all there is. Lee, you are playing with the words here. I'm finding it hard to read that. But anyway, let's try. So, what are the best practices? What are there any special tricks of the trade? Lee will show you dozens of tidbits and methods to really utilize the power of DNN and take your theming to the next level. Now, before I give the word to Lee, let me just go through a little bit of his bio. So, about Leewise. As a previous graphic design student from Sam Houston State University, Lee brings a creative element to his front-end work. He's built a broad portfolio developing software solutions for a variety of industries, including healthcare, government, e-commerce, and a lot more. Lee believes the best way to improve your craft is to challenge yourself. He does this in his daily work by finding more efficient ways to approach problems. Not only that, but did I mention that Lee is a part-time magician? No, really. This guy has more than coding tricks up his sleeve. Lee, it's with that nice intro that I'll give you the word. Welcome.
Thank you, Addison. It's a pleasure to be here. Get to talk to you again.
Awesome. Always good to talk to you, Lee. So I'm gonna give you presenter access right now. Let's give this a try.
Okay.
I'm gonna make you presenter. And great. Awesome. I can see your screen, Lee.
You can see the screen with my presentation?
Yeah, you can do, with the hands and the title there, yes.
Great. Cool. I guess you want me to just get rolling with this?
You can go for that. And the idea is that as you go along, I'll be monitoring the chats. If anyone has a question, I will interrupt you, because I think it's better if you get the questions addressed as you go along instead of just at the very end. So again, I'll monitor the chats. I'll have my questions as well as you go along. But the idea is you take over, and again, I will let you know if there's anything going on to ask you, okay?
Okay. I guess I will probably do this at a little bit faster pace, just because we have a little bit less time than I previously did for the presentation. Plus, if anyone has any difficulty following, they can always just rewind. So let's see. Let me move over to my presentation. All right, so we've already discussed the title. We got that. Let's do this. So figure out the controls over here. All right, so I'm Leewise. Addison already gave me a pretty good introduction. I'll just add that if you want to follow me on any of the social media platforms, it's all at the Leewise. So yeah, GitHub, Instagram, Twitter, probably my Facebook as well. I'm not sure, but anyway. I run a web development consulting agency called Pretty Much Awesome. I like to have a little bit of fun with the name and the branding. I also work with the web development agency here where I'm at in Houston, Texas, and it's called Coursera Digital. So the takeaway from this presentation really is I want anyone participating in this to both say no duh and that's really stinking cool. I want to cover the whole spectrum of just some of the things that you can do within the theme. Some of the things are going to be really simple, and some of them are going to be, I wouldn't say advanced, but maybe more creative use. And not covered as often. A lot of the stuff isn't necessarily available in a centralized place. It's things that I picked up from this blog or that one or a YouTube video. So that's why I think it's not as common knowledge for a lot of people, because it's not available in one spot, which hopefully with the DNN docs, we can kind of fix that very soon. So we'll just get right into it. This is something that's a little bit simpler and pretty obvious for a lot of people who are developing skins, but it's very important, so I do include it. And when I first started doing this years ago, it wasn't as common, and that's configuring the viewport. DNN has a skin object, DNN meta, and then here you can just add the values you need to make it a viewport, maximum width, minimum scale, all that stuff. So that way it doesn't look zoomed out to fit on mobile. You get your nice, pretty responsive layout. Pretty simple. On that topic, using the meta tag, you have much more options. Common uses are the Facebook open graph tags, Google site verification, and if you have to do anything, Apple Windows, IE. This fella put together a great list of meta tag options. You can go here to his GitHub. Some of the stuff I never even heard of and probably will never use, but it's nice to see what's possible. I guess I'm going to pause real quick because I have this full screen. I don't see our questions. So if you do have a question, just verbally interrupt me.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. There's just to let you know, there's a bit of lagging between your voice and your video. Okay, and here and there is breaking up a little bit, but that's okay. If you're okay with that, that's okay.
Okay.
Again, just a little bit of lagging between your video and voice.
I say I could probably move closer to my router, but then you're going to hear my children yelling.
No worries, no worries.
Okay, so responsive menus. Again, this is pretty common knowledge now, but for anyone who may not be aware, a really good technique to handle this is simply doing two different menus. When I first started doing responsive in DNN, I did one menu, and I was just pulling my hair out trying to make it look one way on mobile and then different on desktop. Especially if you wanted to show slightly different items, more on one versus the other. So with DNN, we have the menu skin object. We can simply just output two of them. Selector, and I just use two different menu styles. That kind of goes a little bit deeper into using the DDR menu, which is probably don't have time to get into that, but yeah, just having two different DDR menu styles and two different instances of that skin object. And then in your CSS, you just simply show the viewport. So with a good combination of the node selector, include nodes and exclude nodes, you can use several different menus of the same level. And here I'll show you an example of a common use case that I have is a primary and a secondary menu in your header. So here, these are the main items, right, that we want, and these are kind of secondary. And just doing that right here, include nodes, and this is going to be the page ID. I believe you can do it with a string with the page name, but then you get problems if you or the client renames a page, even just slightly. You got to get back in the code. What I'll typically do is find the ones that are the primary ones. Those are the big key items, and I'll put those as the include and the exclude. And then the secondary will just be everything else. So if you wanted to add an item to the root level, it's just going to tag along right down there and not in the primary. But you could structure it vice versa. where these are the ones that are specifically defined and these are more dynamic. But yeah, so that's utilizing two different menu objects.
And Lee, Andrew was wondering if there's a way to not process the mobile menu when on desktop. I think maybe he means like not load it in markup, maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, just to clarify my question, the snippets that you were showing for mobile versus desktop, you were using what appeared to be like bootstrap classes to hide one menu versus the other. Is there a way to so like the hidden dash XS, invisible dash XS? Is there a way to make it so that markup doesn't even get sent to the client? So if it's on mobile, it would have some type of DNN or ASP.NET code that would say only show this for mobile versus desktop.
So to my knowledge, not really, or not ideally if you want to do responsive, because of course this is processed on the server, right? So it's before we even know anything about the user's device. So if you're doing a dedicated mobile layout and a dedicated desktop, then yeah, you could introduce some logic so that it's not doing that. I always really don't like that approach because it's not flexible, right? Then you get weird in between areas on tablets, or maybe if it's a TV that someone's checking out the web on, it's really limiting to just phone and just desktop. So yes, you could, but yeah, then it's not going to be flexible. It's going to designate it from the get-go, and if you change the size, then you have to refresh. So basically, the server sees the page and delivers different content. So that's been my experience with that.
All right, no, that's a good point. That for the responsiveness when you change window size.
All right, let's see. All right, so moving away from menus, include files for any of the back-end C# developers. This is probably nothing too special, but when I was doing this was a game changing as far as keeping my stuff very clean and organized, and even allowing for multiple different templates that are slightly different but still share common elements, i.e. the header, footer, navigation. These are things that you're probably going to want across all the different templates that you have. So you can do it just like that, the little code that's included there. I like to keep mine in a directory called inc, but it doesn't really matter. It's basically just pointing to a file. Let's see. Oh, I skipped it. To my knowledge, you can even have a different extension. I think it can be ASP. The only difference is that one of them is not accessible like through the browser, but you're probably not storing secure information in your theme templates anyway, so it's pretty relevant. So yeah, client resource management. Now, this is pretty cool. This allows us to basically at the end of making a theme, when you're ready to go to production, makes it really easy to minify and combine all of our files. So this is something that's available in the host settings. You can just check a box that basically combines all of your files, and then it'll combine everything from your modules too, the things that you didn't develop and you don't have a whole lot of control over. So you can include your skin styles and scripts in that process. And so you just use this DNN JS include and CSS include. Give it the path and file name, and it'll include that. If you don't check to have all your files combined and minified, then it treats them separately. It also allows you to control priority. So when you're developing your skin, if you're just using your script tag or your link tag, you're limited to just where it appears in the page where it renders. This way you can actually have it set priority. say, hey, I want it to appear before DNN's default styles or scripts, or maybe I want it after. You can get more specific with those as you need. Especially it's good with some of the Google or Facebook scripts when they're very specific. They say, I want it to be the first thing after the opening body tag or the last thing before the body closes. And so you can do that here.
Lee.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, the lower the priority number, the higher up the resource will be shown, or is the opposite? You see priority there, the priority property. Do you remember if the lower the higher, or the lower the lower the resource? That's okay. I'll figure it out quickly.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I honestly rarely mess with priority. It's just those few instances where I need to force something. Usually I'm pretty happy with the default priority DNN chooses.
Got it.
So yeah, I couldn't tell you, but you could easily Google that. Just DNN JS include priority.
I get it.
I'm sure it'll be one of the top 3 results. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I got a guest coming to join me.
On the phone, Lexi.
Welcome.
Yeah. Okay, so you can add an attribute tag. And so add the attribute tag, add attributes as string. The most common that I needed that for was async true, when I needed my JavaScript to be delivered asynchronously. But yeah, you just add that as an attribute and that is a value. There might be other instances where you might, I guess if you need a specific attribute on your scripts or your CSS, that's how you do that. Conditional content. Now this is something I use a lot. And it's kind of introducing some logic into the theme, but it's really minimal, especially when I'm having to do a big no-no, and that's where I need to develop on a live server. So this is a very common chunk of code I'll use, and this is basically only going to run something if the current user is an admin. So it just looks at the current user info is enroll administrator. And what's great is if you have some custom roles and you're needing to test with that, you can just change that to whatever your role is. And of course, this is just a pretty basic conditional, so you can change anything inside of those parameters. Sometimes I'll do if page ID equals 13, whatever. I need to do something for a very specific page. And be careful, you could get some really hacky code that way, but it definitely happens where, it's a good practice and that's what you need to do. And that's how you do it. And so this frees you from creating special panes for that very specific, edge case. Before I found myself making just hundreds of panes and it was just unreasonable because the pane was specifically for X user on X page. So here is an example I used for kind of some localization things I was trying to do. It was basically the logo. Now I know you can do the logo for the 2 different localized versions, but I really wanted it to be an SVG inline, better performance. Slightly, but it was worth it to me. So I had to do, I didn't do the code example. Well, basically I just did a conditional on what the locale was, whether it was EN-US or EN-CA. So the Canada one got this SVG, and I don't even define the US. This was just the fallback. So it just always shows this unless you're in Canada. So yeah, got a little performance boost by doing that and using conditional content. Let's see, how am I doing on time? I feel like I'm going really fast.
We're okay. We are
I don't
going fine.
You
Again,
still hear
if
me?
anyone just to mention, if anyone wants to make some remarks, again, I see some remarks here in the chat. Feel free to make them. Okay.
Let's see.
I think we're okay, Lee. If you again.
Okay, I just now got audio, so I don't know what you just said. I don't hopefully
Again,
I missed
Lee,
everything till just now.
you're cutting off a little bit here and there, you know.
Okay. Would it be advantageous for me to move to another location to get better?
Maybe we can try this. Maybe turn off your camera and then your voice might work better. So again, we love your face, but if you can hear your voice, that would be best.
Is that good? Is this a little bit better? I think you're still muted, Anderson. Yeah, I can't hear.
Actually, you cannot hear me because I was muted. Okay.
There we go. Okay.
You're good. You're good.
All right, cool. Okay, so setting some dynamic and conditional data as CSS classes or HTML data attributes. This is, I guess, an easy, common use explanation for this is a lot of sites and CMSs will add a class like is logged in at the the topmost element wrapping the whole site if the user is logged in. So you can do stuff with your styles just based on if someone's logged in or not. That's really what I do a lot with this, setting dynamic and conditional data for the use of CSS. Here is almost like a boilerplate, like I'll do this on just about any DNN theme that I do. And it's pretty simply just adding a class if the user's logged in, if they're an admin, and the root breadcrumb ID. So basically, if I'm on a child or grandchild page, I have access to that ID of the root item. Setting an ID of the actual page, page dash, 123, whatever, and then a data attribute, for the page name. And so down here, you can kind of see, how do I make that thing go away? Maybe just move my cursor. Well, anyways, at the bottom, you can see kind of what it would look like actually rendered out. Obviously, it'll be different based on what page and what user. But yeah, so then I have that just kind of basic data available in my CSS or even some JavaScript. Anything too terribly complicated. This is really great. I was doing DNN themes for many years before I found this. This is a way to preview skins, which is great. If you're developing on a live server, you can create a new skin, give it a slightly different name, and apply it to a page where technically you only see it or anyone with that URL. So that way you can also share it with a client without having to have them log in with special credentials or go to a test page. You can see the current live data with a different skin on it. And so it's just applying, skin source basically as a URL parameter. So you just tag that right at the end of whatever the URL is. G for global is host level. So that's going to be under portal's default. And then you could do L for local. That's going to be the current portal, whatever the site's on. Or I've never tried this, but I think you can even specify a portal that's not host and it's not the current portal. So you could pull from another portal's templates. I guess why you'd want to do that, I don't know, but I think that's a possibility. Another great use for this is if something is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I like to try to use those. However, I never come to remember the syntax. I never come.
Yep.
So I always have to go and go to the preview of a skin, and then again it ends up being too complicated. But I love the hack. I never remember the syntax.
Yep. Yeah, I always find myself Googling it until I put together a basically just like a Word document on my computer that had all these things. But yeah, another great use for this is if something is broken, the client comes back like, hey, this isn't working, something's in your skin. And so, I'll throw on the default skin, with that URL parameter and be like, nope, it's still broken. It's not my skin. Or sometimes it is. And I gotta, eat my words and be like, okay, I'll fix it.
Yeah, Lee, you show him.
But yeah,
you show him or her. Show him.
Yeah. So it's great for debugging to narrow it down. Is it the skin or the container? And then move on from there. So on the same note of using URL parameters, you can view a specific module by tacking on $MID equals and then the number. A lot of modules already utilize this, especially if they have to do some AJAX calls in the background. And I think that's kind of how I found that. I saw some module. I was like, what is it doing there with that parameter? And you can even use that in conjunction with the skin preview. You just need to add an and sign, ampersand. And then just add MID equals whatever the module ID is. Let me see if I didn't do a screenshot. So if you want to know what a module ID is, you can simply inspect it with developer tools, Chrome, Firefox, whatever, and find the outermost element that contains that module, and it'll have an ID.
So Lee, let me ask you a question. Again, I didn't know about
Yes,
this
sir.
trick. So do we have to add the full page name at in the title, and then question mark the module ID that belongs to that page, or this is just default.aspx question mark MID equals to whatever?
So I believe it has to be a module on that page. So you don't have access to every module globally across the site. So if you go to a page and you do MID equals 123 and 123 is not on there, then you just won't see anything.
Okay, got it.
You can also do this, Popup equals true, and this is just to see any page with plain empty skin, no styles. Obviously, it's used for pop-ups or AJAX calls. What I've had to do in the past, because I'm not a backend developer, I'm not making a module, but I needed access to some data. So I did an AJAX call to a page, a specific module, and Popup equals true. And then I can just, scrape that data from there. So really, really great for us front-end developers who are trying to pretend like we can make some modules. And I believe this is by default what DNN used for its modal pop-ups, especially with the login functionality. You do login, it'd give you a little pop-up square, and it was using this URL parameter tagged onto the login page. You will need to be sure pop-ups are enabled. Just going into the admin site settings, and there's a checkbox. I guess depending on your environment, some people have it set up by default when they make a new site. These are unchecked. I think by default, like DNN standard, it is enabled, but your environment might be different. And it also might vary between versions. Of course, there's the new 9.3.1, so I couldn't tell you if that's different for 9.3.1. So the pop-up modal. So this is kind of what I was talking about with the login page. You can do that with any page you want, really. So this is using just a JavaScript function that's baked into DNN called DNN modal.show. You pass it the URL. You add Popup equals true, so you don't get all the skin styles in your pop-up. It can get really ugly really quick. oh gosh, and I'm gonna forget now what the second and the last argument is. Obviously, these two are the dimensions. Let's see, I bet I wrote it down right there. Look at that, return. Okay, so if a return button should in the upper right of the pop-up and a refresh. Okay, and I'm pretty sure I got all this from Chris Hammond. So if you need more explanation, bother him. He's smarter than me. Or, I mean, you can just read through here or where it's posted on the DNN community blog. He wrote that out. But just knowing that that's an option that you can do DNN modals, just like DNN, the rest of the core functionality. But if you need to do something custom. So DNN Present.js, this one was really fun for me. I don't use it all the time, but enough that I include it. So adding various properties of the site page user to a JavaScript object so that you can use it in your scripts at a later time. So pretty much like what I showed earlier of you adding some of that data in your class, in your site. I'll do that in JavaScript. Let's see if I didn't include it here because it's super stinking long. Let me see if I have an example. Are you still seeing my screen as I change around?
Yes, yes.
Okay. GitHub, I think I did this under 10-pound gorilla. Let's see. All right. No, it's not a repository. It's going to be the user. Users. There we go. Okay, so this is not a common use. This is an exhaustive use. This is everything. But so I'll drop this into my index.ascx. Basically starting the JavaScript tag and a DNN vars. And it's an object so that I can really, really go in depth if needed. Again, I have never used even close to all of these. It's usually 2 or 3. But right off the bat, edit mode basically checks if it's an edit mode. So you would just access that, dnn.vars.edit mode. Put that in a conditional. So if dnn.vars.edit mode, and then do whatever JavaScript code you need. Everything for the current page, even nested inside that, everything about the root parent page, everything about the portal. Again, no reason you'd ever need all these, but it sure is nice to see all the options. And so this is if we need that data in JavaScript, because of course it's C#, so it's on the server. So once we're in JavaScript, it's too late to get it. So I have to set a variable so that I can, does any of these pose a security risk? Probably. So use it at your own discretion, kind of be aware of what you're setting there. Something like edit mode, no, that's just gonna, again, the server is gonna interpret that and set it as true or false. So nothing I mind anybody in the world knowing. But I potentially some of this could be, like here, the current page, authorized roles. So yeah, if you're, setting that in JavaScript so someone knows what all the authorized roles, I'm sure if they're super clever, they could find some nefarious thing to do with that information. So yeah, so I would be careful when you're doing this. Just, yeah, it's there.
Lee, I do this type of stuff quite frequently doing inline code. One gotcha you just got to watch out for is if you're using page output caching on a page setting level. Okay. A lot of this code, none of this code will get ran again until the cache clears itself. So it's cool for stuff that's static. But if you're trying to get roles, for instance, I could change the roles on the website, but the cache hasn't updated yet, so your page is going to get some old data. So that's just one kind of gotcha that can happen there.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a very good point.
There's a lot of people I don't think actually use the page output caching,
Right.
at least in my network. So it's you got to weigh the option there, but
Right.
if it's not working the way you intended to, that could be a spot to check.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. Okay, let's get back. So DNN snippets for VS Code. This is pretty awesome. I'm proud of this. I put this together. Obviously, I didn't make all the DNN skin objects. I just made it available very easily and quickly for VS Code. A lot of the front-end developers are going to be using either VS Code or Sublime. Those are the two big ones. There is one available for Sublime. Some Vela created. I helped expand it. And then once I ditched Sublime for VS Code, I went ahead and created it. So it's available at this URL to install, or of course, if you want to, let's see. If you go into VS Code, where's the marketplace? There we go. And you can type in DNN, and it's going to be the only one that's DNN. So there it is, and you can install it. I don't have any README documentation because there's really nothing to it. I'll give you guys a quick little run through of that. But it's just a way to easily insert common skin objects properties without having to go find a reference. So let's say you want the login skin object, login. And there we go. And it gives you the register tag and then the skin object. And we can tab through and change the different attributes as needed. And link, whatever you want. That's available for a whole lot of different items. Not just skin objects, but even things, what I was showing you in the JavaScript object for different properties. Oops, DNN page ID. There you go. So like we were talking before about different conditionals. So logged in, what is it? DNN logged in. And there you go. Without having to go find that specific reference, it's available right there. It is only for VS Code. I'm sure if you're using actual like VS or Visual Studio, like on a Windows machine, then you can use IntelliSense and be a real fancy C# developer. But for us on the theming side, this is very useful. I think that was it. I ran through that pretty quick. Yeah. You can get the presentation here if you want to download it at a later time. I think I even pushed it out on my Twitter. So if you follow me, you can see the link there. Or if you're watching this video, then you don't really need to download it. So yeah, that is some of the things that you can do in a DNN theme that you may not have been aware of.
Actually, this VS Code's plugin, it's a hidden jewel,
Oh yeah.
It can be very handy. Lee, I have one question here for you. Let me take control back. Give me 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Let me see here. Okay, so here's my question. What's your take on containers at this point in time? Because I see some people saying that, we don't use containers as we used to use them anymore. Containers are, it was actually a point that was brought from by Daniel Metal, and I kind of agree, but again, I would like to hear the thoughts of someone that is focused on the design side of the business. So what's your take on containers? Are they still useful? Do they still serve a purpose? What's your take?
The short answer is no, I don't think so. I think you can make a use for them. But I think if suddenly they were taken out of the next version, it's not gonna be a detriment. You're like, okay, yeah, a lot of the way that I build personally is using like 2sec. So I really don't have the need for a container. You know, I set up my custom fields, I set up my custom views. Yeah, containers. I almost always just have 2 containers, and that's you know, title and no title. And I think I just have the title one really just for some of the administrative side. Yeah.
So are you part of the cult of the 2sec content cult?
Yeah, so I formerly used form and list, and then I moved over to 2sec. I like it a lot. It's obviously much more powerful than form and list because that's what it was designed to do. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it.
Awesome, awesome, very good, very good. Anybody else has any other questions here? Any other points?
Yeah, not really a question. Maybe just kind of a follow up. When you're showing the server controls for DNN JS include and CSS includes, I don't think you touched on it there. What from at least from my perspective, one of the biggest benefits of using those is not that it just can add them to the header section, but it actually appends your JS file or CSS file with a version number in a query string. That you referred to as like a query buster, or sorry, cache buster. So if somebody updates these files, if you're loading them the proper way through the method you showed there in the client dependency framework, people downstream don't have to worry about their web browsers storing cached versions of those files. I see a lot of the time people that do things, you know, like you mentioned on the server, you log up there, you change the CSS file, but if that version number isn't there, or if it's not refreshed, your client's going to get an old version of the file. And, you know, no one likes to be told to clear your cookies and cache and stuff. So, you know, just another kind of added benefit that brings to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I've had that before with clients. I tell them, I don't see the changes. I'm like, well, hold shift key while you refresh. They're like, oh, okay, I see that, but I'm not telling all of my viewers to do that. I know,
exactly. Yeah, there's a button in the host settings screen that you can click that'll actually automatically increment that number if you're not, you know, installing modules or extensions through the DNN installer. So pretty helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lee, you mentioned about, I think, you know, because of those includes those JS and CSS, the tags. Have you found any problems or concerns when you are using the composite files, when you are combining all the JS and all the CSS together with via DNN itself, because there is an option DNN? Have you found any? You know, maybe the skin went crazy and some things didn't show up as well. Have you found anything like that?
Nothing terribly detrimental. It's just sometimes somewhere in the theme I'm working on or in some rogue module, styles or scripts weren't included in the client resource management. So things get kind of weird because then it may be in a different order now than it was previously. But as long as everyone's doing it the right way, then I don't see a problem. And most of the common modules, the ones that are really prevalent, yeah, they're fine. They're utilizing it so everything gets combined correctly.
Awesome, great. So again, let me just see here if the chat has anything else here. Okay, I think we are good. I had a few points, but you've covered them all. Again, anything else before we wrap things up?
I really like the snippets you showed there for VS Code, so I'll be downloading that. That'll definitely save me a few Google searches.
Awesome. So again, Lee, thank you very much for doing this, for taking the time, for sharing your tips and tricks. I hope that this has been useful. And again, if you are watching this afterwards, again, I hope that you found the tips useful here. Thank you very much, Lee.
Yep. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So again, let's wrap things up. I don't want to hold you all longer than what is necessary. So just want to, we have gone through this already. So just want to mention that in our next meetup in a month, most likely, and it's pretty much confirmed now, but on May 1st, we're gonna be having Mandips and Mandip from Mandips. Mandip and his team, hopefully they're gonna show a live, because right now it's in preview mode, I think, but they're gonna be showing the live version of, what is the name again? Live Visualizer. Live Visualizer is supposed to be kind of, let's put it this way, a competitor, a commercial competitor of liquid content, 2sex content. So everybody these days are trying to do their take, to get a chance to do their take on structured content. So you're gonna have most likely Mandip and his team to do a bit of a demo of the Live Visualizer, which is a new product they are in the process. Mandips is in the process of releasing. Mandips is one of the the great providers of modules and skins and themes in the DNN ecosystem. So you're gonna have him talking to us in just about a month. Again, Lee, thank you very much. Everyone, have a great April, and that's it. I'll talk again in a month. Have a good one. Bye now. Cheers.